A movie as long as Avatar Fire and Ash is guaranteed to have some upsetting moments, but James Cameron's newest adventure goes above and beyond in that department. These particularly distressing scenes had us reeling in our seats. There's not much of a time jump between The Way of Water and Fire and Ash. After all, when the third film begins, the mourning period for Jake and Neytiri's son, Neytiri, has not yet ended. The death of a child is a near impossible burden for a couple to bear. It puts unthinkable strain on relationships, especially when one of the parents was somehow involved. It certainly affects the Sullys, who have opposing methods of coping. Jake wants to channel his grief into violence and exploding arrows, while Neytiri leans on her religious beliefs.
All I have is my faith that this is the Great Mother's plan.
With their firstborn gone, Jake and Neytiri feel even more protective of their family. But for Neytiri, that only extends to her Na'vi children. Spider runs into trouble early on in Fire and Ash when he starts having issues with his exopack mask. After all, humans can't breathe the Pandoran atmosphere, something that's very, very important to the plot of the film. The rift between Jake and Neytiri widens when Neytiri admits that she finds Spider's presence in the village of Awat Atlu to be a liability. Even though he's grown up side by side with the Sullys and spent so much time with them that the kids consider him a brother, Neytiri has never found it in herself to feel the same way. That feeling has, if anything, gotten stronger by the events of Fire and Ash. In one particularly heartbreaking moment, Neytiri makes her stance very clear, saying that he will never be part of their family. This forces Jake to arrange for Spider to be brought to live with his friend Norm. But when the journey doesn't go as planned, it paves a way for even more tragedies to come. Varang is the most ruthless resident of Pandora we've seen yet, commanding the warriors of her Mangwan clan and showing all who oppose her the heat of her fire. Naturally, the best way to introduce such a sadistic character is having her commit the most upsetting act of violence that one can commit to a fellow Na'vi. The Q, or kuru, is what links Pandoran life forms to each other and to the Great Mother Awa. To sever one's kuru is to sever one's connection with Awa, which Fire and Ash reveals to be worse than death.
Your goddess has no dominion here.
Once they've gained their bearings on the jungle floor after their convoy was ambushed, Loak and Spider spy on some of the Ash people from a distance. As they do, they're shocked to see Varang cut off a captive Na'vi's guru without any warning or remorse. It may be fiction, but it's surprisingly tough to watch, and audiences everywhere found themselves collectively gasping at such an abominable act. In one of the most pivotal scenes in Fire and Ash, Spider's mask starts malfunctioning again, but this time he doesn't have access to his spare. Without understanding how or why she's able to do so, Kiri sets him down, stuffs a seed from a wood sprite in his mouth, and watches as Awa embraces him. Spider surviving this event is what drives a whole lot of the back half of the story, but the movie lingers on his unmoving body for quite a while to keep audiences guessing. Unbeknownst to first-time viewers at this point in the film, it takes a while because a whole bunch of fungal mycelium is in the process of permeating Spider's lungs and altering him at a cellular level, giving him the ability to survive on Pandora without a mask. Thank goodness he's okay. But at what cost to the rest of Pandora? The Tulkun had a rough go of it in The Way of Water, to say the least.
She takes an explosive harpoon to the chest and she's still running. Beautiful.
But the events of Fire and Ash might just be even more upsetting for them. After all, it's not long after the movie's begun that we see their carcasses being loaded en masse onto a whaling vessel so that Scoresby and his aquatic goons can harvest Amrita, just a single vial full from the dead brains of each of those intelligent creatures. If that's not bad enough, Payakan is having a particularly bad day. He's put on trial by the Tulkun Council for his actions in The Way of Water and sentenced to banishment for his crimes. Loak and his siblings and friends are devastated, especially when Payakan sadly laments, "You will never hear my song again." Thankfully for everyone involved, including the audience, this isn't true. Payakan finds a motivation to sing again, but his sadness is far from over. Later on in the film, he befriends the last remaining member of his original pod, almost all of whom were killed by whalers. The only survivor, Tarnok, is so scarred and blind that the Tulkun matriarch ends up changing her tune. Sometimes a sci-fi movie can feel painfully real, That's certainly the case with Loak's emotional state, which is worn down by constant conflict and guilt over the loss of his brother. It doesn't help when Jake lashes out at him in grief, saying that Neytiri would still be alive if it wasn't for him. That's a rough thing to hear from anyone, but especially your own father. And especially when you think it's true yourself. It's not long before Loak reaches his most difficult and upsetting moment. As he cries out in grief, he places the barrel of a gun underneath his chin and comes upsettingly close to pulling the trigger. Before he can do anything tragic and irreversible though, he's stopped by family and reminded how important he is.
The strength of the ancestors is here.
Luckily, he's able to emotionally recover enough to prepare for the battles ahead. The film doesn't linger on the moment much, thankfully, but it shows the weight of Loak's feelings throughout the movie. The thing about Miles Quaritch is he's always going to come to collect. Not even death can stop him from pursuing his all-consuming goal of capturing and eliminating Jake Sully. He's willing to go as far as teaming up with Varang and the Manquan clan to accomplish such a feat, much to the chagrin of General Ardmore. Sure enough, Quaritch and Varang show up at Awat Atlu with lots of backup, with the aim of bringing in Jake and Neytiri. What follows is an intense standoff that threatens the lives of everyone in the village, and to prove that he means business, Quaritch gives his army the order to burn something. The Metkayina cry out at the loss of their homes, and Quaritch only orders them to stop once Jake has already surrendered. For a moment, it seems as if Neytiri might let an arrow fly so all hell breaks loose, but all she can do is watch as her husband is taken away. It's hard to imagine a scene of someone being led to their own execution not being upsetting as all get out. Sure enough, when Jake is arrested by the RDA and given a perp walk in front of cheering onlookers, it's pretty hard to watch. After Jake turns himself in an attempt to save his family, he's imprisoned in a glass cage and prepares to face a firing squad as the entirety of Pandora's human population watches on. What's decidedly not upsetting is his jailbreak, which involves Neytiri disguising herself as an ash person and disgruntled marine biologist Ian Garvin commandeering some oversized construction equipment. When Spider puts himself in the line of fire, it's scary, sure, but above all else, it proves just how brave he can be. Fire and Ash is a surprisingly Spider-centric movie, and sure enough, he gets several of the most difficult scenes to watch in the entire film. The worst of all is undoubtedly when Jake, who's terrified of the RDA reverse engineering Spider's ability to breathe Pandoran air, comes to the conclusion that the only way to prevent such a thing from happening would be to kill him outright. Watching Jake ask Spider to follow him into the secluded forest, it's impossible not to get a sinking feeling in your stomach. You're pretty sure he's not going to go through with it, but what if he does? Despite Spider's pleas and cries, Jake is only able to stop himself from drawing blood at the last possible second and breaks down emotionally. Even Neytiri, who's been pushing for something like this the whole time, has a change of heart when she's washing the red paint off her face and sees it as a metaphor for the blood she'll have on her hands for the rest of her life. When she finally realizes that she indeed loves Spider as a son, it turns into a bittersweet scene that's hard to forget.
We will find another way.
Even though we don't spend too much time with Ronal in Fire and Ash, she's a major player in the Way of Water, as the wife of Tonowari, leader of the Metkayina clan that gives the Sullys a safe haven. She spends the entirety of Fire and Ash heavily pregnant. Well, almost the entirety. During the final battle, Ronal is hit by enemy fire. She manages to make it to dry land when Neytiri helps her give birth to her daughter, Prill, before she dies. It's the cycle of life and death in action, but that doesn't make it any easier to watch. That said, Avatar fans who are particularly fond of Ronal can't be happy that she got sidelined just to die at the end. At least Prill survived the battle, and at least she has Neytiri to help take care of her. As the climactic battle reaches its final stage on a floating rock inside a flux vortex, Jake is once again forced to let Quaritch live in order to save Spider's life. Alone and facing down the wrath of the whole Sully family, he drops a casually droll one-liner before diving into the fiery chaos below. This is a moment that's upsetting no matter how you slice it, simply because we have no idea what happened to the guy. The last time we see him, it looks as if flames are licking his body for a moment. But given that he already died once and lived to tell about it, it's more than possible that he survived in some capacity. If he was truly, actually dead, you would have surely seen it happen. And it's fine if he comes back. Sure, Quaritch is a bad guy, but he's quite a compelling antagonist, and let's face it, you almost start to like the guy after a while.
Damn right you do.
It's frustrating not knowing whether or not we can expect to see him in Avatar 4, but at least Varang managed to escape after Kiri gave her a taste of her own medicine. Whatever happens from here, the Sullies are sure to encounter a familiar face or two on the other side of the battlefield next time around.